The WNBA and NBA released a joint statement yesterday condemning the court's ruling, saying, quote, "Today's verdict and sentencing is unjustified and unfortunate, but not unexpected, and Brittany Griner remains wrongly detained." Griner's sentence yesterday reignited a new wave of outrage among athletes and ordinary Americans alike who are pushing the Biden administration to do whatever it takes to bring Brittany home. The Reverend Al Sharpton is back with us, the host of MSNBC's Politics Nation and president of the National Action Network. Reverend Al, in your statement yesterday after the verdict was announced, you called Brittany's sentencing, quote, "a moral outrage and legal atrocity in any court of the world." Talk to us about how that hit you when that verdict came down and your reaction in that moment, and what it means for this effort to get her home, get Brittany back home.
Well, what we at National Action Network wanted to raise is that the moral issue here is a young lady that had gone to Russia for 7 years and played basketball and had ingratiated herself with many Russian citizens, so much so to some of her Russian teammates, and former coach came and testified on her behalf in court. And she went above the boundaries of a country, beyond the global politics, and entertained Russians like she did Americans. Yet they treating her in this way over some vapor that she was prescribed by doctors. That's a moral issue. The legal issue is what they had wouldn't amount to a misdemeanor in most countries around the world. So what we're saying is forget Putin versus Biden, forget all of the global politics. This is a humane issue. That's why I've asked to be allowed to go and have a clergy visit with her. This is inhumane to do to anyone on some bogus situation as them having some vapors in a cartridge, which is not in any court around the civilized world going to get you 9.5 years in jail. Let's be serious about this.
So, Reverend, let's pick up on the point you raised just a moment ago about the clergy. So, because for the last couple of years, or excuse me, a couple of months, you've been calling on the U.S. and Russian governments to lead a delegation of clergy to see Brittany. What have you heard about your request? What does it look like, for that opportunity to arise for you to go there and minister to Brittany?
Well, I've talked to the State Department at its highest level, and they've said they have no influence with Russia, that I can make the application, and but that they were going to direct all of their energies toward me being able to pray for her here and pray with her here, and I appreciate that. We've heard nothing from Russians. I even reached out to the Russian Orthodox Church. Now that she's been sentenced, we've reiterated it again, and we intend to be in touch with the Soviet leadership again to see if they can be granting that. But I would really want to see her immediately brought home, whatever they need to do. And Secretary Blinken and others and the president has made this a priority. I was glad the president, in 5 minutes after the sentencing, released a statement. And that's what Sherelle and Brittany and her parent, I talked to her father, Brittany's father, a couple of times. They want to know this country has not forgotten them and that they are going to fight for her and Paul Whelan. And I hope that more of the athletes, including the male athletes, come out strongly, like LeBron did. Because you got to remember, the reason that Brittany is played ball 7 years in Russia, as I said, is because female basketball players do not get the same money in the United States that they can get by combining their U.S. income with us overseas income. So an underlying issue here is the pay equity of women athletes.
So let's cut a little bit deeper on the Griner case, and you've touched on a point I want to get into. The NBA has largely stayed behind the scenes in this instance, mainly sticking to the public statements, letting the WNBA kind of lead the way here. To quote from a New York Times piece covering the NBA's handling of the Griner case, there are no easy answers, said Ian Bremmer, a political scientist who who runs a political risk research and consulting firm, he added, could the NBA have done more? Yes, they could have. So here's the question. Should the NBA be doing more? And what else could they be doing? And how do you weigh? You mentioned some of the male athletes. How do you weigh that among the colleagues out there, her colleagues out there on the male side of the sport, and what they can be doing and saying, as we've seen women in the WNBA do when the men were out publicly on an issue?
Well, I think I would say from a personal vantage point, I'd love to see some of the male stars in basketball come out and raise the moral issue. Just say it's not fair. And do what they've done with other situations we've had, like Trayvon Martin or George Floyd. But come out and say it's not fair. And yes, she is a colleague, and that we want to see her freed. They have tremendous platforms, and they should not get political. Just raise the moral issue. The NBA, the moral issue. I was glad to see they did a joint statement with the WNBA on yesterday, but they can do more. The executive director of the WNBA is one of the most eloquent women in the country, but she needs to be able to have others stand with her and say, this is a moral outrage. We need to frame it where it is. This is a moral issue. When you can take someone who has culturally given your country so much and take them on such little as this, that she admitted to, that she said, look, I have prescriptions, I tell you that I did it. And to give them 9.5 years, that is as immoral as anything that I've ever fought in my career, which is why I have not been able to remain silent. And I hope to see male players and other men stand up. I want to see people stand up and raise this on a moral plane. The question that many are asking is that, is Russia acting this way because she's black? Are they acting this way because she's gay? I'm also asking that of a lot of us in America, and including in professional sports. If she was a different color and a different orientation, would you have a difference in terms of your aggressively going and raising the moral issue? No one here is point a gun in anyone's head saying anything provocative, anything crazy. And her family doesn't want that. All they want is justice and fairness on a moral issue.
Appreciate that very much, Reverend. We're going to turn now to breaking news just in from a courthouse in Austin, Texas. A jury has just reached a unanimous verdict on another charge against Alex Jones in a defamation case being brought by parents of one of a 6-year-old boy killed in the Sandy Hook massacre. The jury awarding $45.2 million to the family in punitive damages. This coming on top of the $4.1 million of compensatory damages the jury awarded yesterday. We're back with NBC News senior reporter Ben Collins. Ben, walk us through. What do we know here?
Yeah, that's about $50 million that Alex Jones will have to pay out to these families in the first of 3 defamation cases from Sandy Hook parents. This is just to 2 different families. And this is a trial set in Austin, Texas, not Connecticut like the next one will be. This is a lot of money for Alex Jones. It is alleged that he makes somewhere upwards of $800,000 a day. Still, $50 million to lose in 2 days is a tremendous amount of cash. The plaintiffs were asking for $150 million. That's a third of this. Punitive damages don't usually go 10 times the amount of compensatory damages. But that's what Alex Jones is dealing with here. He has to pay out about $50 million. Now, he will grovel and he will beg for more donations through Bitcoin, and he will try to sell some more supplements on this. But that's a lot of supplements. $50 million in supplements is a tremendous amount of brain force plus that Alex Jones is going to have to sell to make this up.
Ben Collins, thank you for the update. Appreciate you. A quick break, folks, and we'll be right back.